Not only do these guys give you the best Jazz coverage in the market, they've got you covered with the Mammoth, the Cougars, the Utes, and the Aggies. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
No, you're good. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, no Ben today. No, not a medical emergency, just vacation. To make that clear. So we hope that Ben is out there. We hope he's having a great vacay and spending some quality time with the family. Ben will be back on Tuesday. So, until then, you have to put up with me and occasionally David James. And soon, we're going to talk to Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 fame, as we'll talk to Drake about his takeaways from Big 12 Media Day. What are the big storylines for him going into this year's Big 12 season? So we look forward to talking to Drake coming up momentarily. We're going double lock today, Locked On Big 12, and the man himself, David Locke, who's going to be on the show coming at the top of the 4 o'clock hour, who usually you can hear on with David James on Fridays, but not tomorrow. We will be off tomorrow celebrating the 24th of July. Are you doing the, Christian, are you doing the parade again?
No, I was not asked to do the parade this year.
You weren't asked?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't high enough up on the celebrity chart this year?
Well, part of it was I kind of demanded that I do the Peach Days parade in Brigham City because KSL's doing Peach Days this year.
Okay.
I don't know the last time they did Peach Days, but when I found out that they are doing a float in Brigham City, I kind of demanded that I was doing that.
So you are doing a parade, but not
the one that we did together last year.
Not that one.
No. I think it's going to be Tim and Lloyd.
I didn't get asked either, unless it was in email form, and then I don't know. But no, that was fun walking in the parade last year. But yeah, I'm happy to let Lloyd and Tim take a whirl at it.
I bet Tim's going to eat it up. Tim's going to be like our guy last year that was taking pictures with everybody.
Who was that? Who was taking pictures with everybody?
The KSL, one of the news guys.
Oh, was it Rascone?
Yes, Dan.
Dude, he's a people person.
Yeah, he was very popular. That's going to be Tim tomorrow.
But, here's the difference between radio and TV. And I realize that we are now on YouTube and we now do the video streaming, so maybe it's a little bit different than it used to be. But everybody knows what Dan Rascone looks like, Christian. Nobody knows what Jake Scott and Christian Esparza looks like. So if Tim, being a radio guy, I don't know, if he ran up to people like Dan Rascone did, I think people would be like, who is this guy in my face? No offense to Coach Lacombe, who maybe Coach, as former BYU assistant, maybe he would be a little more recognizable. Anywho, we will be off tomorrow celebrating, and yes, some of the staff will be participating in the parade tomorrow. So we hope everybody, whether they're working or not. In fact, my wonderful wife has to work, Christian, so that means that I get a day with my daughters, which I'm pretty fired up about. All right, let's switch gears. We're going to talk some Big 12 football as the season is on the horizon. Joining us now, back on the show, of course, he's host of Locked On Big 12. He's Drake Toll with us here on Jake and Ben. Drake, thanks for a few minutes, dude. How are you?
Of course. I am spectacular. I'm getting ready for a game on ESPN tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time. The Party Animals and the Indianapolis Clowns on ESPN and Banana Ball. But, man, I can't pass up the opportunity to talk some Big 12. So excited to be with you.
Man, I'm digging the shirt. I get it. You have to be right in on the vibe, right, dude? I got to admit, I'm jealous because honestly, you get being a radio slob like myself. I get a kind of dress. I wish I had an excuse to really wear some loud stuff.
I get the pink. I've got some like bright green.
Yeah, dude.
This is actually a onesie. This is all just like one amorphous blob
amazing.
On my body
that
right now.
Amazing.
So I did not wear this to Big 12 Media Days in the past. I have not built up the courage yet, but the time will come.
Oh man, I saw some media members that were dressed up and thought they were the show. You can't. No, you gotta keep it. You gotta keep it professional. All right. Well, let's go to Big 12 Media Days. I'm curious for your takeaways. I would say start at what's most relevant for you. The Texas Tech clown reporter looking like a moron bringing up tortillas. I mean, you want to talk Utah BYU? What did you come away thinking?
Yeah, I thought that Brett Yormark missed the mark a bit in how he approached even like that moment, right? The reporter asks a pretty stupid question. No two ways around it. Some questions are stupid. Law of averages. Some things are just, they're not going to land. Didn't land. Yormark walks across the stage, tells the guy, stand up, say it with your chest, give it to me. I think Yormark walked away, instead of looking like this commanding figure who's got a grasp on a grip on the Big 12 in a positive way, it almost looked a bit too totalitarian. A couple people in the room mentioned the same thing, like, it's not the look Brett wanted to go for. Similar to John Sumrall with this phone situation for the Florida head football coach, right. SEC Media Days. Phone goes off. Sumrall just took it a bridge too far. And where I think the Big 12 can grow and get better as a conference moving forward and needs to is from a PR standpoint. The SEC's nailed that. They are. It just means more, and we're 16 teams strong, and we're the best conference in college football. But also at the same time, they command this rhetoric of almost the underdog. The Big 12 can't find underdog, can't find big dog, can't find middleman. They're still struggling to find their spot in the college football sphere. And I think that was echoed at Big 12 Media Days. What is the identity of this conference? The biggest announcement the league gave you, and Brett Yormark always has one. He always has, Nelly is the halftime show, or LED basketball floor, or we're going to Mexico City. This year, the announcement was Monster. And because there was no proper context given, it gets torn apart immediately. The whole deal. There are questions from every corner, media and fans of asking, how are we signing away our conference for $1.25 million per school? How does this work? How is this? And if proper context had been given about, the Big 12 being promoted on monster cans in 150 countries and the opportunity to make more money with this deal later on, then maybe we all wrap our head around it. We agree with it. We're on the same page. But it's just like the Big 12's a tick off from a PR standpoint right now. And in an era where we're doom scrolling all the time and social media matters more than ever, you've got to look good. And the Big 12's struggling with that, I think. And that was maybe my biggest takeaway, the 30,000-foot takeaway from Big 12 Media Days.
Let me ask you this. Do you include BYU in the same conversation as Texas Tech going into the season, or Utah for that matter?
You've got to include BYU in that, if not BYU ahead of Texas Tech. And a few people do have the Cougars above the Red Raiders. I don't currently. I still think Texas Tech commands the best roster. And to back that up, I watched what Texas Tech did to BYU twice last year. Now, the Cougs kept it close in the first half of both of those contests, but ultimately Texas Tech just overpowered BYU. Until I see different, until I watch BYU against Arizona, win a game by 21 points against a salty Arizona team with Noah Fafita, I don't have the confidence that BYU is better than Texas Tech. Are they squarely the second best team in the Big 12? Absolutely. Could they be the first best? For sure. But I still have Texas Tech in that one slot. And what I think we forget, we read the BYU record. I mean, this is a 12-win team a year ago. And man, that kid, you can't take that away. Everybody's like, one-score games, they'll regress. They won't. This team is really good in crunch time. But there is a piece of how BYU struggled against UCF, right? Or in the past against Colorado and had to come back and win these games. The Cougs have to dominate. They got to blow people out this year if they're going to prove to the College Football Playoff Committee they deserve to get in, no matter their record above double-digit wins. And then I include Houston in there, in that kind of that top tier of the Big 12. BYU, Houston, Texas Tech. Those are my three. Then what's crazy is at 4, it could be Kansas State. It could be Utah. We could get to the end of the year and Utah is 11th in the Big 12. Kansas State's 14th in the Big 12. It starts to get super messy after the top 3 to me. I even think Arizona could see a regression going into the year. And the biggest piece as it pertains to the Utah Utes is the trenches. The amount they had to replace in the trenches. And, people are all, they lost 5 key players to Michigan. And I don't even look there. I look at the trenches, and I do think ultimately Kyle Whittingham leaving is not going to be something you see as a big tangible reason that Utah doesn't go 11-1 next year. Morgan Scalley's going to run a ship that they're familiar with and they're aware of, and Devin Dampier can carry the offense. But there's a world where Utah goes 7-5. Just as there's a world they go 10-2, there's also 7-5 on the table, and that's what leaves the door open for so many of these Big 12 teams, kind of in that second tier, and that second tier is pretty big.
Had you met Morgan Scalley before? And if not, I'm curious to your first impression.
I haven't shaken his hand, and I'll say this of Scalley: what I've seen in kind of the circles that I've been around, and even the people that I've talked to inside his inner circle, they're all on the same page of Morgan Scalley is going to be easier to deal with than Kyle Whittingham in a lot of ways. And those who were around Kyle knew that he was very particular about the details. And sometimes that meant if you were media, if you were friend of media, it kind of depended on who you were and what room and where you were, what kind of Kyle Whittingham you got. And I think that's why a lot of BYU fans resent him or resent his time. Morgan Scalley seems to be just a little less, and I don't think anybody's shocked by this. He doesn't mind the spotlight. He doesn't mind the conversation. You saw that when he left to go to Michigan. He was drumming up donors, trying to get another year or two at Utah. What could he scrounge up? And that brought a lot of attention to Kyle Whittingham, which he was okay with. I think Scalley's going to walk in and, hey, football guy, I want to be the head coach. I want to run a program, and I appreciate that. I think Scalley opens this up with a humility that's going to help Utah in the next 3 to 5 years.
He's got more charisma than Witt did. No offense to Witt, but I think he might be able to interact with media and with folks a little bit easier. That'll be an advantage. What did you think from your perspective? From a little bit broader perspective, what did you think about that whole situation, Coach Witt, and how it ended at Utah?
Yeah, the way that things were hidden by even whether local media, fans, people just wanted to deflect the situation as if Kevin Harlan and Kyle Whittingham, that there was no way Witt wanted back and it was a fluke. He went to Michigan. And I've had a lot of conversations with people in the weeds of this that are all very clear that Kyle Whittingham wanted to come back to Utah. There was pushback on that the first week of it was time. He was ready. But Witt had set his own timeline. I mean, he built the timeline for the university and then could not adhere to that timeline, was already given an added year, wins double-digit games. At the end of the season says, what if I come back again? But they were ready. The university, the administration, Mark Harlan, they were ready for what they had promised to Morgan Scalley. And Scalley was ready. And Scalley had waited a year. And the way the situation unfolded, I think Utah caught, and even I did on the front end, Utah caught some unwarranted flack because how do you handle it? You got the Hall of Famer, you got the statue guy who you thought was going to retire a year and a half ago saying, well, what if I come back? And you got the head coach in waiting that expects to be the head coach and that expects the head coaching job. Where do you go? And I don't think Mark Harlan ever could have known that saying no to Kyle Whittingham would lead to him going to Michigan, right? I mean,
right.
In every other scenario, Whittingham says, all right, I get it. And he goes off to Cancun, sits on the beach and drinks a pina colada, and Utah football is just fine. Nobody transfers. The coaching staff stays intact, and things look pretty similar to what they did in 2025. Instead, with him going to Michigan, that's where the bag got shaken up. And I don't think you can blame Mark Harlan for that because he had no clue that Witt was going to walk out the door and pick apart a lot of Utah by going to Michigan and bringing certain pieces, whether it's players or coaches, along with him.
Oh, man, it had repercussions all around here. I mean, from BYU to Utah down to Weber State. I mean, it affected everyone. I'm curious, with the last couple of years in the Big 12, obviously Arizona State came out of nowhere a couple of years ago to win the league. Houston, I don't know how many people picked them to win 10 games last year, and I think they surprised some folks. Who's the candidate for that this year, a team that has the potential to play its way to, something somebody didn't expect?
Yeah, for me, I love to follow coaches here. So this time last year, July, when we did our Big 12, Locked On Big 12 preseason poll, I think I had Houston at 5 or 6, somewhere that 8 or 9 win range. And that's where the comments started like, oh, it's stupid. Connor Wegmans, no, there's no way. And I had BYU squarely at 2, Texas Tech squarely at 1. And it was, hey, let's follow the money, follow the coaches. Let's do this kind of mixed bag of Willie Fritz wins, Texas Tech spent a lot of money. Like, don't overthink this thing. This year, Oklahoma State spent a lot of money, and Rich Rodriguez wins at West Virginia. That's where, if I'm looking at two schools that are going to surprise a lot of people, I think it's the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Now, for Oklahoma State, again, it's that money, the portal. Drew Mestemaker might end up being the best quarterback in the Big 12 come the end of the year. He led the nation in passing yards last season. He wants that Cam Ward arc. Cam was an incarnate Word guy who worked his way to Miami, and that's what made him the number one overall NFL draft pick. Mestemaker can work his way from North Texas to Oklahoma State and take over college football. I have no doubt about that. On the West Virginia front, they still have things to figure out offensively. I think their defense is going to be much saltier. And what Rich Rod has done that I really appreciate, what Houston did last season, is he didn't overhaul in the portal. He brought in almost this, you win from attrition. There was positive attrition. You lose the guys you didn't need, the guys who didn't want to work, and you bring in portal pieces that can compete. BYU did that last year as well. They're not saying, hey, we're going to replace 15 starters out of the portal. No. We're going to bring in 15, 20 guys, transfers that can compete for starting jobs and make our returners better to build a program. I think West Virginia is going to do that. And then Oklahoma State trying to follow that Indiana model. They've got enough talent to surprise a ton of people and win 8, 9, maybe pie in the sky, 10 games this coming fall. And you'll learn a bit about them. Even if they lose, you'll learn quite a bit when they face Oregon in Stillwater early in the year.
This is a loaded question that probably can't be answered in a couple minutes, but what is the future of college football? We talked to both Utah and BYU's athletic directors, and they're talking about unsustainable this and unsustainable that. And then, of course, SEC media days, which you referred to before, they're threatening to break off. Tommy Tuberville is in the Senate saying, this is all we want. I mean, what is the future?
Robots, I don't, like flag football. I guess there's it's a fair question though, because there's a lot of ways to take it. I think what you're getting, the rhetoric out of the SEC right now, is dangerous rhetoric, and I think that overall, I talk about this a lot on Westwood One Sports in the mornings, Drake Toll's show, is that the SEC's dangerous rhetoric is not something to be scared of, but something to monitor as the conference tries to sway the court of public opinion in its direction. So the SEC is not leaving the NCAA. No chance. No chance. There's no reason that a conference would want to overtake that. They would want to grab the headache that the NCAA deals with. What the NCAA does is they're in essence this guard, this dam between a conference, between an institution, between a player, and the law. The NCAA is supposed to enforce the law, and guess who gets sued more often than not and loses? The NCAA.
Right.
The SEC doesn't have the infrastructure to get sued like that. They don't have the money. They don't have the, I mean, there's no way that the Southeastern Conference can sustain itself from a legislative standpoint. I've crunched the numbers on this. It would take about 2 years for the SEC to completely leave the NCAA. And that is going to Washington, D.C. and saying, hey, for combative measures for all these injunctions, we need you. And Washington, D.C. saying yes to the Southeastern Conference is such a large they would never attempt it. The future of college football is right where we are for the next 4 years. What's going to teeter that, we get to 2029, 2030, 2031, are the TV deals. Where does ESPN go? Where does Fox go? Does the Big 12 side with TNT? Does the ACC try to get in bed with CBS? Those are the questions we should be asking. The smoke and mirrors of the SEC leaving the NCAA is just the SEC trying to make you feel bad for the big bad wolf. Like, yo, you killed Red Riding Hood's grandma. Why should I feel bad for you? You're the one that did this. Like, you're the one wearing the costume. But you're you're in bed right now, dressed as grandma. They want you to love them. They want you to buy into this underdog ragtag. Oh, poor us. The SEC has to deal with the NCAA. It's all a PR game. I think the future of college football is actually fairly stagnant for the next couple of years. We just get to complain a lot up until the TV deals are re-upped and we learn truly where a Clemson, a Florida State, and Miami might go in conference realignment 5 years from now.
We have David Locke coming on next hour. Any thoughts about working for David? If you could sum up David's leadership style in one word, what would it be?
Wow. One word, man. I feel like I love what Charles Barkley once said. I got 2 words: Steve Nash, Chris Paul, must-see TV. That'd be my version of one word for David Locke.
All right.
In the best way, man, intense is the word that I would use, and it's awesome. I think you've been around him, right? You see it. It makes so. I live by a motto in work and in life that perfection's impossible, excellence is imperative, and that's the swagger David Locke carries into everything he does. Is that excellence is the goal, excellence is the key, and the Locked On Podcast Network has taken off because of that. So I work for, I mentioned it off the top, the Savannah Bananas,
Yep.
Jesse Cole, the guy in the yellow tuxedo, visionary. When I first started working 3 years ago with him, when I first started working with David 5 years ago, you could look in their eyes and tell this is going to take off. Anything this guy touches, anything this guy does, it's going to work because not only are they incredible, they put the right people around them. They surround themselves with the infrastructure to win. They'll always have a startup mentality. And so I liken David Locke a lot to what Jesse Cole is doing with the Savannah Bananas and that growth in marketing and sports and attention in this realm. And both of those guys, man, I consider it an honor. I walk into, whether it's Locked On the Podcast Network or the Savannah Bananas, the Party Animals, Banana Ball, I walk in outthought, outclassed, outmatched, outcreated every single day. Like it forces you to be better when you work for guys like that. David Locke deserves a lot of respect for what he's done building Locked On, which is now the #1 podcast network in the world.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell him or pass on any of that because his ego is already big enough. Hey, Drake, we appreciate you and all your great work, dude. Thanks for coming on with us.
Man, I know I wear a fur coat and a onesie and all that, but getting to talk the nitty-gritty of the real issues in college sports today is always a pleasure. And to join a brand like KSL that I've followed since well before I was in sports media, like back in high school, listening to the air, reading articles, KSL is a staple there. It's an honor to be asked on a show like this, and I'm excited to do it. I'll be in town 3 or 4 times this fall for both BYU and Utah. We'll catch up again.
Oh, great. Yeah. I mean, we'll have you back in studio, man. That would be awesome.
I'll wear this.
Yeah.
I'll wear a onesie.
All right.
I'll do it.
Thanks, Drake. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. That is the host of Locked On Big 12, Drake Toll, with us here on Jake and Benoit. More next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Not only do these guys give you the best Jazz coverage in the market, they've got you covered with the Mammoth, the Cougars, the Utes, and the Aggies. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, thank you for making us a part of your day. Man, Christian's going to have one heck of a weekend. I'm jealous, pal.
I'm taking them all fishing tomorrow.
Are you really? Everybody?
So that's how we'll get out of the house.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Christian's got a house full of people.
Full. Busting out the seams.
So, but where are you taking him fishing?
There's just a little manufactured pond up in Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
It's a nice little park.
Out of the house.
Out of the house. That's the trick, yeah.
Out of the house.
They literally drive, they don't drive a minivan, they drive like a full-size.
Like a van.
Sprinter van, yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
All right. And everybody's in town just hanging out?
Everybody.
Making it happen? All right. Let's reset the Shams thing, Christian, if we can get that sound up as the low weight luck continues. For LeBron James and where exactly he is going to land. Let's refresh the latest. This is Sham Sharani on ESPN today.
There's nothing left. The teams are the teams. The information's the information. LeBron has everything he needs to make a decision. The conversations have happened. They're not, from my understanding, my sources tell me LeBron James, his agent Rich Paul, that inner circle, they're not waiting for another domino right now. They're not waiting for Anthony Davis to get traded anywhere. They're not waiting for anyone else to move around anywhere. The teams, Cleveland, Miami, Golden State, Philadelphia, Minnesota, they're set. Those are the teams. Wherever he ends up, I mean, you're looking at minimum deals, you're looking at exceptions. The contracts are not going to be this grand part of this deal. LeBron James was very clear from the very beginning. This is going to be based on happiness in terms of chance to contend for a championship, a chance to compete at a high level, join a culture. That doesn't come from going to a team and then gutting that team from multiple different players. Now, listen, if during the first week of July, LeBron James and Rich Paul told, the Heat or the Cavs or the Warriors, hey, we need you to do this and we're coming, those teams might have done that, but that message was not delivered. And so you just kind of have to read between the lines. If you're some of these teams, you need to figure it out. But it's at a point now, July 23rd. It's really up to LeBron James. The entire NBA is waiting on LeBron James' decision.
Everybody's waiting. We're waiting on the schedule. But the one piece of news there is that, I think anyway, is that Shams is saying that LeBron's not waiting on, I had the theory about James Harden, and is he not signed yet, freeing up some room for a sign-in trade that could perhaps move some players around. I saw an internet rumor yesterday, and it obviously was nothing more than that, about possibly a sign-in trade that could involve the Jazz and Jarrett Allen. But Shams Charania says no, he's going to sign a vet minimum deal or fit into an exception or whatever. He's not waiting for pieces to be moved around. A lot of people wondered about Anthony Davis because who was the guest we had on a couple of weeks ago from Washington, or maybe it was last week?
John Allville.
Who said Anthony Davis hasn't really said anything about whether he wants to be there or any of that. He mentioned that the Wizards aren't in a hurry to trade Anthony Davis, but that he hasn't exactly given his ringing endorsement yet either. And Anthony Davis is, of course, a clutch guy. So,
Man, DJ ate that up.
Oh, DJ loved it. Loved the Adele.
Hello.
He loved the like that. It's because DJ's old school.
Like that?
He knows a good drop when he hears one. So, all those are really intriguing, but what Shams is saying right there is that's not the case. There's not any of that. He's going to just sign into space for any of those 5 teams that were mentioned. I don't know how much of this I actually believe. He does have everything he needs to make up his mind. So what are we doing? What are we doing?
What is the holdup? We don't know. We don't. It's Shams mentioned free agency started 20 days ago. Like 20 days ago, and we are still waiting on this.
Because he likes the attention?
Right.
So where does he end up? David James thought Miami. He thought the YouTube thing was no accident. Where are you sitting on that question right now? Where will LeBron go?
I still think it's Cleveland for Le Homecoming, Le Part 3. But I do think it's interesting that Shams brought up Minnesota because that was a team that hadn't really been talked about a lot. It had kind of been narrowed down to Miami, Cleveland, maybe Philly, and then the Warriors were, a couple weeks ago. Minnesota seems kind of out of nowhere. I don't think it is a coincidence that Shams brings them up.
I don't think there's a chance he's going to Minnesota.
Too cold.
Yeah, no connection. What does LeBron put Minnesota over the top? Does he really want to go play with LaMelo Ball?
Right.
And I do think LeBron probably wants to be a focus of the team in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if you can do that with Anthony Edwards. I don't know.
But Shams brings it up.
He does bring it up.
And
but
that is enough to pique my interest.
But Shams is also getting the word out that there's a ton of demand for LeBron James. There's also where's Shams getting that, information? And it's to better LeBron James to have the word is that he could have 5 destinations instead of just 1 or 2. So I don't know. I don't think he ends up in Minnesota. I would bet against that. I still think it's Cleveland.
Okay. You haven't fully flipped to Miami, but you're more convinced than you were yesterday that Miami's in the running.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you were making so we're going to find out just how self-involved LeBron is with this decision. Because it's about happiness, right?
What are his ultimate goals?
What are his priorities? I think if it's coming down to Miami and Cleveland, just take the championship thing off the table because LeBron on either of those teams probably have about an equal chance at winning a championship, right? Miami with LeBron and Cleveland with LeBron.
They're both flawed, right?
Both flawed, but the chances are probably pretty similar. I wouldn't pick either team, but the contention level is probably the same. So the fit is not, I wouldn't say it's great at either one from a gameplay standpoint. They'd have to figure it out. But what Cleveland has going for it is that's the fairy tale. That's the storybook narrative. LeBron goes home for the final chapter. If it's about the movie, and he's quite literally going to make a movie.
Le documentary.
If it's about the movie, the attention, the story, the legacy, all of that, he goes to Cleveland. If it's about actually being happy, he's going to Miami.
Spending his last year as an NBA player.
Maybe two.
In the city with the best nightlife.
Weather,
out of all the
lifestyle,
NBA
all of that. Absolutely. And there's not really another player on the Heat that plays his position. There are several players on the Cavs that play his position that they would have to figure out. But if it's about happiness, I mean, think about this. And here's LeBron never seems like a person. But if you are a person and you're making a decision on where you've built your life, I talk about Trajan all the time, Trajan, Trajan wealth. You spend your whole life working up to your latter years where you've earned the, resources, luxury, whatever it is, to pick where you're going to be happy in your second or third chapter or whatever, however you want to look at that. And what are you going to do? If you're LeBron, a person, and you're picking, I'm going to spend the next a year, 2 years, part-time living somewhere, where am I going to pick? Miami or Cleveland? Honestly, or Miami or Minnesota or Miami or Salt Lake City or whatever. And LA is not an option. You're picking Miami, right? I think we'll learn what actually is ultimately that important to LeBron. If he ends up in Cleveland, it's all about the manufactured story. It's all about the how it's going to look on a TV show. But if he actually is prioritizing happiness, he should go to Miami. On the floor, though, I think Miami's probably a better fit, but I don't think either team is winning an NBA championship with LeBron James.
I feel like it could get clunky either way. I mean, him next to Giannis and Bam feels weird, and him next to Jared Allen and Evan Mobley feels weird. And then you throw in Donovan Mitchell, who's going to have his allotment of dribbles.
Yeah, and Donovan just signed a huge deal. So what, are you going to take the ball out of Donovan Mitchell's hand? No, with Miami, at least he can have the ball. At least he can dribble. I mean, that's, Giannis isn't necessarily that. Bam certainly isn't that. So LeBron has a lane with Miami. They're just flawed because they can't shoot. Cleveland, they'd be flawed because they're awkward fit together. The LeBron James, Donovan Mitchell, and James Harden. Super clunky. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to have LeBron James not have the ball and run his guy over? I mean, that's the whole reason you have LeBron James. You think Donovan's going to go stand in the corner? I don't think that's going to happen. If James Harden's not dribbling out there, what is James Harden good at? Nothing.
Putting on weight.
And none of those three, putting on weight, good, I like that. None of those three has any interest whatsoever in playing any sort of defense. I will give LeBron credit for being a good defensive player in his day. That was, 6-7 years ago that he decided I'm too old for playing defense. So I don't know. I think the less clunky fit is Miami. I don't think he's going to Philadelphia. I would say there's no way he's going to Philly because he doesn't want to be in the same locker room as Jaylen Brown. No offense to Jaylen Brown, but Jaylen's wanting to be the guy. I don't think LeBron is going to go share anything with somebody who's out there to prove that he's the dude.
He's going to have to share with somebody. I mean, Miami just traded for Giannis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland just paid Donovan, like you bring up. If he goes to the Warriors, that is Steph's team, and that will always be Steph's team. If he goes to Minnesota, that's Anthony Edwards' team. So he's going to be second fiddle at best. But then again, in Philly, where does Joel Embiid land? Or Tyrese Maxey or VJ Edgecombe, right? So I think Philly is the most crowded.
His personality would still dominate in Cleveland. I mean, I'm sure they love Donovan, but that's going to be LeBron's team every second he's on the Cavs, for better or for worse. Miami, you may have a point. Giannis might not want to share, He might not want to share the attention.
Right.
Especially a player that's attention is going to outweigh their value on the floor, which I do believe that about LeBron James. Part of that's not his fault because he's just such a a figure
Part of it is his fault because of this whole saga.
This whole garbage. Oh, it's totally true.
When do you think? What was the date on the YouTube video? July 27th, right?
Is that what it said?
So that would be, I think, Monday. Do you think late decision is coming on Monday?
I don't know. That could have thrown off the timeline. Never know. I do know, we talked about this, I do know players are super obsessed with controlling their announcements and their messages and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's Tom Brady coming back, ruining his marriage just despite Adam Schefter, right? Adam Schefter leaked that Tom Brady was retiring. Tom Brady decides to play one more year, and that is part of the reason why Giselle left him.
That and the
pool guy.
And the
jiu-jitsu guy.
The jiu-jitsu guy. I think that
part of the reason, yeah. One of a couple of reasons.
One of a couple of reasons, yeah. All right. We'll have more coming up next. David Locke will join us at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. Stay tuned. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson. Now, every day from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is Thursday. That means it's time for the big announcement of the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. This week, congratulations to Katrina Larson of Orem High School. Here's what was written about Katrina in her nomination. Katrina Larson has been our school community council chair for 3 years and has been absolutely fantastic. The time and energy she puts into improving Orem High School and working with the community to find effective ways to utilize our funding. She cares about students and she cares about our faculty and staff. She takes time to visit with teachers and ask them what they need to improve deeper learning. She always looks at our data to help find areas of improvement, and she is always willing to do the work to improve learning and our school. Congratulations to Katrina Larson. Remember, if there's a youth volunteer, it can be sports or not, that go to kslsports.com/contest and nominate them. And then, of course, listen to to the Jake and Ben show every Thursday afternoon when we announce the winner. So shout out to Katrina Larson. Christian, have you started thinking about youth sports? You have a newborn, but I could see you being a sports dad.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. Yeah, I am stoked to do all
now,
of it.
Are you going to push him into a particular sport?
Not necessarily. I kind of told my wife I want him to kind of do the try everything approach if he wants, right? But, when I was little, I remember playing T-ball. I remember playing AYSO soccer, junior jazz, all that stuff. I never played baseball or soccer or basketball beyond that, but that's such a fun age, I think, 3, 4, 5 for those sports.
I am making my kids do 2 sports. And then if they want to do something else, they can. But I'm making them ski and I'm making them play golf. Because, one, skiing, we live in Salt Lake and skiing is more accessible here, despite the price, than it is anywhere else on the planet. So I feel like they should take advantage of that, just being Utahns, and specifically here living in the Salt Lake Valley. And then golf, because there's 4 of us in our family. We can do it as a family. That's an activity that we can all do together.
That is nice.
So they have to do that. Outside of that, they can do whatever. My daughter Sadie's doing soccer. And I don't know if my other daughter Maggie, I don't know if she's into the team sport thing. She does like dance, though, and she did like gymnastics. So we'll see how that goes.
Did she do the tumbling?
Yeah, they don't. So she was 4. They don't quite get into tumbling per se that young. Does that make any sense? I mean, they're doing somersaults and stuff, but they're not doing handsprings.
Okay.
All right. I could see you fighting another parent on the sidelines at a sporting event.
Which sport?
Does it matter?
Okay.
Does it? Yeah, at the side of the tennis court. You're on the other side of the chain link fence, fist fighting the other dad while
I'm trying to think I don't know, soccer's played in the springtime, right? Baseball's kind of more summer. So if I were to get in a fight, I'd probably I think springtime would probably be better.
Okay.
You don't want to be hot and sweaty while you're also fighting.
All right. Baseball and soccer pretty much go at the same time.
Do they?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well.
So, I don't know.
Okay, I'll pick one.
I think you could accomplish it at either one, to be honest with you. But you will discover that the world is full of great volunteers in youth sports and great people out there doing great work for young people. And I am a firm believer in the value of sports for young people in their development. I know it was for me, but you will encounter some great coaches and great people out there, Christian, as your newborn gets older. We love Sadie's soccer coach. She's so great and so great with kids, and they learn so much, has a great temperament and all that stuff. Honestly, all the horror stories about parents fighting coaches, I haven't seen too much of that yet. But then again, my daughter's 9, so
you see a little bit.
Give it some time. I see people.
I've seen a couple.
I see people take it pretty seriously, but I haven't seen any like major event yet.
Okay.
I haven't seen that fight in the stands yet, or the coach have to scream at a parent to shut up. I haven't seen any of that. I hope to be that parent one day.
Buckle up.
Yeah. But there are a lot of great people out there. We do, I tell this to people all the time, here in this community, we do kids stuff well, including kids sports. Our community does, experiences, and I crow about our museums and aquariums. And I mean, we do young people stuff very well.
Yeah, I live right next to a park, and every Saturday morning I'm driving in to come in for the Saturday show, and that park is always full, whether it's kids' soccer games or whatever, every Saturday.
Now, do the parents in their cars run amok in your neighborhood, though? I know people who live right by parks, and they just hate, like, football parents.
Okay. No, I have not experienced that.
I was surprised. We are friends with a family that live right by an entrance into a park where they play a lot of youth sports and play a lot of youth football. Those kind of walkway entrances, not like a main entrance, but there's houses on either side and there's a walkway,
Yes.
in between to get into the park. I was shocked when this dad told me that there's anywhere from like 2 to a dozen football parents that smoke that come into that walkway to smoke cigarettes during the games or whatever. I was just surprised, not that parents would find a kind of more private place to smoke per se, but that there were so many parents that are still smoking.
Yeah, it's like a secret club.
I guess I was just a little surprised.
How do you think they find each other? They're like,
oh, they always, yeah, absolutely.
okay.
Probably.
They can just tell.
Yes, it's a thing.
Or one person had an idea, and then another person had the idea, and they're like, "Oh,"
and now they're a community
Yeah.
or something.
okay.
Yeah,
That's what I bet happened.
I don't know. I was just surprised to hear that it just doesn't feel like there are that many smokers around anymore.
I don't know.
But football parents. But no, they're not running amok in your neighborhood with all the cars and the parking and all that stuff.
I live on a weird, busy road, but I don't know. There's always people running amok.
Okay.
I guess.
You're on a busy road?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You better watch it. You got a lot of kids.
I know.
A lot of kids at the house now.
I'm not letting them in the front yard.
So you have 12 people currently staying at your house?
My brother-in-law and his wife, and their 6 kids. The oldest one is 9.
Uh-huh.
So they have 6 kids between 3 months and 9 years old.
Uh-huh.
And then my mother-in-law and her mom, my wife's grandma.
A total of
12 people in a 1,200 square foot home right now.
It's pretty cramped.
Pretty cramped. Luckily, I'm not there. One less body to worry about.
Yeah, you gonna work late tonight, Christian?
Yeah.
Sorry, I know it's 9 p.m., but Lloyd has got me, man, editing these. All right, I'll call you back. Stay tuned. David Locke joins the show coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We all have routines. I'm Jabron, and with diabetes, mine was finger sticks. Sometimes I skip them because they hurt. The Freestyle Libre 3C GM changed that. It gives me glucose insights without finger sticks. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
Finger sticks are required if your glucose alarms or readings do not match symptoms, or when you see check blood glucose symbol for the first 12 hours. The views expressed should not be used for medical diagnosis or treatment as a substitute for professional medical advice. Individual circumstances may vary. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.